Last night, while you were completely unconscious, your body was trying to tell you something. The position you fell asleep in wasn't random. It wasn't just about comfort. It was your subconscious mind protecting you from a wound you're still carrying, a trauma you haven't processed, a fear you're still running from. And the wildest part? You have no idea you're doing it. Think about how you woke up this morning. Were you curled into a ball? Sprawled out like a starfish? Flat on your stomach? On your back with your arms pinned to your sides? Clutching a pillow like your life depends on it? Each one of those positions is a clue, a breadcrumb trail, leading back to something that hurt you so badly. Your body is still trying to protect you from it, even in sleep, even when you're not consciously thinking about it. Your nervous system remembers, and it's showing you the truth every single night. Here's the thing. Most people think sleep positions are just about preference, about what feels good. But your body doesn't just do things randomly, especially not something you do every single night for hours. The way you sleep is a trauma response. It's your body creating a fortress, a shield, a survival strategy. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what your sleep position reveals about the wound you're still trying to heal. Before we go deeper, do me a favor. Hit that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel. And drop a comment telling me how you sleep. Fetal position, starfish, log, soldier, stomach, hugger, just your position. Because by the end of this, you're going to understand why your body chose that specific position. And it's going to hit different than you expect. Here's how this works. There are 6 main sleep positions. 6 distinct ways your body arranges itself when your conscious mind finally shuts off and your subconscious takes over. And each position corresponds to a specific trauma pattern, a specific wound, a specific way your nervous system learned to protect you. So as I describe each one, pay attention to which one feels familiar, which one makes you go, yeah, that's me, because that's your answer. That's your body telling you what it's still protecting you from. Let's start with the most common one, the fetal position. If you sleep curled up on your side with your knees pulled toward your chest, arms tucked in, body compact and protected, then your deepest trauma is about vulnerability, about being hurt when you were too small to defend yourself. The fetal position is literally the position you were in before you were even born, before the world got to you. And the fact that you return to it every night tells me something powerful. You're trying to protect your inner child. Here's what happened to you. At some point, probably when you were young, you learned that the world wasn't safe, that being open, being vulnerable, being your full self, that got you hurt. Maybe it was a parent who was harsh. Maybe it was bullies. Maybe it was a traumatic event that made you feel small and powerless. Whatever it was, your nervous system made a decision. It said, we need to make ourselves smaller. We need to protect our core. We need to guard the most vulnerable parts. And so you curl up, you make yourself into a ball. You tuck your knees in to protect your stomach, your organs, your soft, vulnerable center. You bring your arms in to shield your chest, your heart, the part of you that feels too much. You're literally making yourself smaller because somewhere deep inside, you still believe that being big, being visible, being fully extended in the world is dangerous. People who sleep in the fetal position are often highly sensitive. You feel things deeply. You pick up on energy. You notice things other people miss. And that sensitivity is beautiful. But it's also exhausting because the world is loud and harsh and you feel all of it. So at night, when you finally get to be alone, when you finally get to let your guard down, your body curls in. It creates a cocoon, a safe space where nothing can get to you. But here's what you're not admitting. You're still that scared kid. You're still trying to make yourself small enough that the bad things won't find you. You're still protecting yourself from a danger that isn't actually there anymore. The person who hurt you, the situation that scared you, that's in the past. But your body is still living in it, still curling up, still trying to disappear. The fetal position reveals something else too. You struggle with trust. You have a hard time letting people in, because letting people in means uncurling. It means extending yourself. It means being vulnerable in a way that your nervous system has decided is not safe. So you stay curled up, even in relationships, even with people who love you. You keep that protective shell around your most tender parts because you're terrified that if you open up fully, you'll get hurt the way you were hurt before. And here's the cost. You're lonely, not in an obvious way. You have people in your life, but there's a part of you that no one gets to see, a part that stays curled up and hidden, because full vulnerability feels like full exposure, and exposure feels like danger. So you stay small, you stay protected. And you wonder why you feel so alone, even when you're surrounded by people who care about you. Now, let's talk about the starfish. If you sleep on your back with your arms and legs spread wide, taking up as much space as possible, like you're making snow angels in your bed, then your deepest trauma is about abandonment, about being left, about people taking up space in your life and then disappearing. And now you're taking up all the space you can because you're terrified of being crowded out, of being forgotten, of shrinking and having no one notice you're gone. Here's your story. Someone left, maybe a parent, maybe through death or divorce or just emotional absence. Maybe it was a series of people who promised to stay and didn't. Maybe you were the kid who got overlooked, the middle child, the quiet one, the one whose needs didn't seem to matter as much as everyone else's. And your nervous system learned that if you don't take up space, if you don't make yourself big and visible and impossible to ignore, you'll disappear. You'll be forgotten. You'll be abandoned again. So you sprawl. You spread out. You take up the entire bed, even though rationally you know you could sleep fine in half that space. But it's not about the physical space. It's about claiming territory. It's about saying, I'm here. I exist. I matter. And I'm going to take up so much room that you can't possibly overlook me. People who sleep like starfish are often dealing with a deep fear of being insignificant. You need to be seen. You need to know you matter. You need constant reassurance that you haven't been forgotten. And when you're awake, you might do this in other ways. You might be loud, demanding, the person who dominates conversations, the one who always needs to be the center of attention, not because you're narcissistic, but because invisibility feels like death. But here's the shadow side of the starfish position. You're exhausting, for yourself and for others, because you can never relax. You can never trust that you're valued just for existing. You always feel like you have to perform, to take up space, to make yourself too big to ignore. And that's tiring. You're spread out across the whole bed, but you're not actually resting. You're still in protection mode, still making sure you're visible, still fighting against the abandonment you're sure is coming. And the cruel irony is this. The more space you take up, the more you push people away. Because people don't want to be crowded. They don't want to be around someone who needs constant validation. So they pull back. They create distance. And you interpret that as proof. See? They're leaving. Just like everyone always leaves. And you spread out even more. Take up even more space. Trying to prevent the very thing your behavior is causing. Let's shift to the log position. If you sleep on your side with your body straight, legs extended, arms down by your sides, like a plank of wood, then your trauma is about rigidity, about control, about learning that if you let yourself be loose, be flexible, be spontaneous, chaos will destroy you. The log position is a physical manifestation of someone who's holding themselves together so tightly they're afraid that if they relax even slightly, they'll fall apart completely. Here's what happened to you. You grew up in chaos. Maybe it was a household where things were unpredictable, where you never knew what you were going to get, where one day things were fine, and the next day everything was falling apart. Or maybe you experienced something that shattered your sense of control, a loss, a trauma, something that made you feel powerless. And your nervous system said, never again. We're going to control everything. We're going to be so disciplined, so structured, so rigid that chaos can't touch us. So you sleep like a log, straight, controlled. Even in sleep, you don't let yourself get messy. You don't sprawl. You don't curl. You maintain form. Because form is safety. Structure is safety. Control is safety. And losing any of that feels like losing everything. People who sleep in the log position are usually high achievers. You're disciplined. You have routines. You plan everything. You're reliable. And on the surface, that looks like strength, but underneath it's fear. Fear that if you're not constantly controlling every variable, something terrible will happen. That if you let go even a little bit, you'll be vulnerable to the chaos you're so scared of. Here's the cost. You can't relax. Ever. Even when you're sleeping, your body is maintaining this rigid posture. You can't let loose. You can't be spontaneous. You can't just go with the flow, because flow feels dangerous. You need structure. You need control. And that need is running your entire life. The lawed position also reveals something about how you handle emotions. You don't. You keep them contained. You stay composed. You maintain control because you believe that if you let yourself actually feel things, if you let yourself be messy and human and emotional, you'll lose the control that's keeping you safe. So you suppress. You manage. You contain. And you call it strength. But it's not strength. It's terror. Terror of what would happen if you finally let yourself fall apart. Now, we need to talk about the soldier position. If you sleep flat on your back with your arms at your sides, like you're standing at attention, even while unconscious, then your trauma is about emotional armor, about learning that showing your heart, showing your feelings, showing your true self gets you attacked. So you armored up. And now, even in sleep, you're protecting your chest, your heart, the part of you that feels. Here's your story. You got hurt for being soft. Maybe you cried and were told to toughen up. Maybe you expressed feelings and were mocked. Maybe you were vulnerable with someone and they used it against you. Whatever happened, you learned that your emotions were a liability, that your heart was a target. So you built walls. You created armor. And the soldier position is the physical representation of those walls. Sleeping on your back with your arms down is protective. You're guarding your chest, your heart, your vulnerable center. And your arms aren't spread out like the starfish. They're at attention, ready, alert. Even in sleep, you're not fully relaxed. You're in a defensive position, prepared for an attack that your nervous system believes is always coming. People who sleep like soldiers are often stoic. You don't show emotions easily. You're composed, strong, unflappable, and people admire that about you. They think you're tough, resilient, together, but you're not. You're just really, really scared of being vulnerable, of showing weakness, of letting anyone see that underneath the armor, you're hurting just as much as everyone else. Here's what you won't admit. You're lonely because armor doesn't just keep attacks out. It keeps connection out too. People can't get close to you because you won't let them. You won't let them see your heart because you've decided your heart isn't safe with anyone. So you sleep like a soldier, arms at your sides, chest protected, heart guarded, even when you're alone, even when there's no threat. You can't let your guard down because you've forgotten how. The soldier position reveals that you equate vulnerability with weakness, and weakness with death. So you stay strong, you stay armored, you stay in position, and you tell yourself this is who you are, but it's not. It's who you became to survive. And what kept you safe then is keeping you isolated now. Let's talk about stomach sleepers. If you sleep face down with your arms wrapped around your pillow or tucked under it, then your trauma is about control. Specifically, about needing to control your environment because you can't control your internal world. Stomach sleeping is a position of someone who's literally trying to hold down their feelings, to suppress them, to keep them pinned to the mattress so they can't rise up and overwhelm you. Here's what this means. You're anxious, like deeply anxious. Your mind doesn't stop. And when you finally try to sleep, when you finally have to be still, all those thoughts and feelings you've been running from all day, they start to surface. So you flip onto your stomach. You press yourself into the mattress. You create pressure. Weight, something to hold you down, to keep you grounded, to prevent you from floating away into the anxiety that's always waiting. People who sleep on their stomachs are often people who are terrified of losing control. You need to feel like you're in charge, like you're managing things, like you're holding it together. And the stomach position gives you that illusion. You're pressing down. You're applying pressure. You're in control. Except you're not. You're just creating the physical sensation of control because you have so little control over what's happening inside your head. Here's the shadow side. Stomach sleeping is actually terrible for your body. It strains your neck. It compresses your spine. It's literally one of the worst positions for physical health. But you do it anyway, because the physical discomfort is worth it for the psychological comfort of feeling like you're holding yourself together. You'd rather hurt your body than face your mind. The stomach position also reveals something about how you deal with emotions. You smother them. You push them down. You refuse to look at them directly because looking at them feels dangerous. Like if you actually acknowledge how anxious you are, how scared you are, how out of control you feel, you completely fall apart. So you press yourself into the bed. You hold yourself down. And you hope that if you suppress hard enough, the feelings will eventually go away. But they won't. They never do. Finally, let's talk about the hugger. If you sleep clutching a pillow, wrapped around it, holding it tight against your body, or if you sleep hugging the blankets like you're holding onto a person, then your trauma is about touch starvation, about loneliness, about learning that human connection isn't safe or reliable. So you've replaced it with objects. The pillow, the blanket, something you can hold that won't hurt you, that won't leave, that won't betray you. Here's your wound. You need connection. You need touch. You need intimacy. But you've been hurt by it too many times. Maybe you had a parent who was physically there, but emotionally absent. Maybe you've been through breakups that wrecked you. Maybe you've tried to connect with people and been rejected or abandoned or betrayed. And your nervous system said, okay, we still need touch, but we can't get it from humans. Humans are too risky, so we'll hold the pillow instead. And here's the thing. It works. Kind of. The pillow provides pressure. Wait, the sensation of holding and being held. It triggers some of the same neurological responses as actual human touch. It calms your nervous system just enough that you can sleep, but it's not the same. And you know it's not the same because you wake up still lonely, still longing for the real thing, still hugging objects because the alternative, opening yourself up to real human connection, feels too dangerous. People who sleep as huggers are often deeply caring. You have so much love to give. You want to connect. You want intimacy. But you're terrified, so you practice on pillows. You rehearse holding someone. But you never actually do it with a real person because real people can hurt you in ways that pillows can't. Real people can leave, can reject you, can make you feel the full weight of your loneliness when they're not there anymore. Here's the cost. You're settling. You're accepting a substitute for what you actually need. And the longer you do it, the harder it becomes to reach for the real thing. You've gotten so comfortable with your pillow, with your blanket, with your safe objects, that the risk of reaching for a real human feels impossible. So you stay alone, hugging your pillow, telling yourself it's enough, knowing it's not. So which position is yours? And more importantly, do you recognize the trauma it's revealing? Because here's what you need to understand. These aren't just sleep positions. They're survival strategies. They're ways your body learned to protect you when you were powerless to protect yourself. And they worked. They kept you safe. They got you through. But you're not powerless anymore. You're not in that dangerous situation anymore. You're not that scared kid who needed to curl up or spread out or hold tight or guard or suppress. You're safe now, but your body hasn't gotten the message yet. And that's why you're still sleeping the same way. That's why your body is still creating the same protective formations night after night, because your nervous system is stuck in the past. It's still fighting a war that ended years ago. It's still protecting you from a threat that isn't actually there anymore. And until you address the original wound, until you process the trauma that created this pattern, you'll keep sleeping this way. Keep protecting yourself from ghosts. Here's the hard truth. You can't just decide to sleep differently. You can't just wake up one day and go, okay, I'm going to stop curling into a ball now, because these patterns live in your body, in your nervous system. They're not cognitive. They're not conscious. They're automatic responses to unprocessed trauma, which means awareness is just the first step. You also need to create safety, real safety, not just in your environment, but in your nervous system. You need to convince your body that the threat is over, that it's finally safe to uncurl, to relax, to let go of the armor, to release control, to reach for a real connection instead of pillows. And that takes time. It takes work. It probably takes therapy, somatic work, nervous system regulation, whatever it takes to help your body release what your mind has been trying to forget. But it's possible. You're not stuck in this position forever. Your body can learn new patterns. It can create new responses. It can finally rest instead of constantly protecting. But first, you have to see it. You have to acknowledge what your sleep position is telling you. You have to stop pretending it's just about comfort and admit that it's about trauma, that you're still carrying a wound, that you're still trying to protect yourself from something that hurt you so badly your body won't let you forget it. Even in sleep, especially in sleep, when all your defenses are down and your subconscious finally gets to show you the truth. Drop your sleep position in the comments. And if you're brave enough, tell me if this description matched what you've been feeling, what you've been avoiding, what you've been protecting yourself from. Because naming it is powerful. Seeing it is powerful. And once you see the pattern, you can start to change it. Subscribe if you want more psychology that goes this deep, that doesn't just tell you interesting facts, but actually helps you understand the patterns running your life. We don't do surface level here. We go into the depths, into the uncomfortable truths, into the wounds you've been sleeping around for years. Your sleep position just told me your trauma. The question is, what are you going to do with that information? Are you going to keep sleeping the same way? Keep running the same pattern? Keep protecting yourself from a danger that's long gone? Or are you finally ready to heal, to process, to let your body know that the war is over and it's safe to finally rest? Because that's what you deserve. Not just sleep, real rest. The kind where you're not curled up in protection, not spread out in defense, not rigid with control, not armored against connection, not pressing down anxiety, not holding pillows because humans feel too risky. You deserve to sleep the way people sleep when they feel truly safe, truly held, truly at peace. And you can get there, but first, you have to wake up to what your body's been trying to tell you every single night, in the position you can't help but return to, in the trauma response you've been calling a preference, in the wound that's still waiting to be healed.